Well, this is a true event. I don't know how strange it was. Maybe a little strange. But anyway, I've been very fortunate in my life not to have wrecks. I've had maybe little run into something and dinged the vehicle and done this and done that. Nothing major. And I've been driving a long time. I'm 60 years old, so I've been driving for quite a while. But this time I was coming back through Clinch Valley, where the Scottish Highlander cattle are, and that's close to Treadway through there. And I was coming back home, headed back home, and there's a big ditch line there. I mean, it's not like a side of a ridge or anything that you'd have to go, would fall off of, but it was just a big, deep, steep ditch line, if anybody knows what I'm talking about. Well, so I was going through there, and I was probably going a little too fast, knowing me. But these two Great Pyrenees dogs decide to bark and have commotion and run out and surprised me, and I yanked. I must have yanked, and then I must have tried to swoop it back in place, and then I got my wheels off into the ditch line. So I rode the ditch a minute. Well, it felt like a minute. It wasn't that long, I'm sure, but I was riding the ditch line, and I hadn't flipped it or anything, and I was very surprised that I was where I was, but I thought real fast. I saw a light pole coming. I said, okay, you got to get it up. You're gonna tear the whole side out of it. You're going to mess it up. And so I pulled it, and I got it on up a little, but I still didn't get it quite enough. And it took the mirror, and it took the whole side, looked like just like waves. I mean, I tore it. I didn't tear anything off except for the mirror, but it was all messed up, wavy, and just tore up. But what was the deal was I saw after that, I saw there was going to be this ditch, a tile, because it was making a little road that would go over in that farm. And then I thought, okay, now you can't stay down in this ditch now at all, because you're going to hit that, and this airbag's going to come out, and you're going to have a mess, and the car's going to be tore all to pieces. Well, needless to say, I yanked it. And the only thing, how I did not flip it is God, I know, because he's let me pull it and yank it. And I must have been leaning on that light pole, because that's the only thing I could see that would give me leverage enough to have whooped it back up on the road and not flipped it. So I guess the car was leaning on it, and when I did that, it just sort of jumped back up into the road. And I thought, it was a hot day, and I thought, okay. So I'm rolling. It's not quit on me. I'm still going. But I figured something was probably pretty good and tore up, and I knew no one else was involved in the accident, so I said, just try to make it home, Sherry. In 15 minutes, you'll be home. If it'll make it to the house, just wait till you get to the house to report it. And then, because I said it might not be too bad. Of course, I went on up the road, and I was going slow because I didn't know where he'd make it or not. Then I got thinking, maybe my brakes might be about out. I kept pushing them a little, and they were still working some. I didn't know how good. So I kept creeping along. Then there's this little, I call it a little island that you would cut up to go up to onto the next road to go toward my house. So I thought, okay, now it's downhill, and I'll have to make a stop, and it will go right into the ditch or something, because it won't stop, I'll bet. Well, so I kept looking. I went real slow there and crept up to it. And there was nothing coming one way, and there was nothing coming the other way. And I said, okay, you see nothing? zip it on, get it around that curve before you have to put a brake on and find out where you got much brakes or not. Because I knew after that there was another little place that was curvy and downhill some, but I was really going slow. And so I thought maybe I can maneuver it through that. And I knew that was the only other place I had to worry about having brakes, because when I got to my house, I knew it was up on a hill and I wouldn't have to worry about brakes anyways if you just make it up there. And if I just got it in my driveway, I would have been a happy camper, you know. So I made it. I got there and I zipped it on, and I got there. And then I got into my holler and I started up through there, and I said, I hope I don't meet anyone, because there's some curves there if you meet somebody. It's not downhill, but you have to, somebody has to back up, and I wasn't going to be backing up. I didn't even know if it had a reverse on it or not, you know. So anyway, I got up on my hill and I parked. And I got out. Then I looked at it and I went, oh, MG. I mean, it looked like an accordion or something is what it looked like, the whole side. So I give Dan a call, and I said, Dan, well, I wrecked a car. I said, but I didn't do nothing but the side of it. It just messed that whole side up real big. I didn't total it or nothing. Well, anyhow, I had to have a rollback come get it. And that was before Dan hadn't even seen it. He was still at work. And they come and got it and put it on the rollback. And the person that works on the car, we know very well. And he said that it was absolutely totaled, because that I had broke the motor casing on the motor. No wonder the motor hadn't fell out of it before I ever got it home. Also, I think it was the back brakes. I had been cut in two. So I just had two brakes, you know, and I think they were the front ones. I believe they were the ones that were okay. Well, anyway, either way it was, I just had two brakes. But the motor casing was busted. So I was a very lucky girl to get my vehicle home that day. And you know what is the funniest thing about the whole thing is, okay, what my insurance was kind of expensive, I thought. And regardless, and I thought, oh, Lordy, now the insurance is going to go way up. Everything. Well, I get the new insurance, and it had lowered about $100, I believe it was, a month. And I said, how in the world can that possibly be? Well, this one was just about 2 years younger model than the one I had. And they said, well, it's new safety features and all that's on it, made the insurance cheaper. So the Lord bless me by letting me live through that, because it could have been a mess. I don't know how in the world it didn't flip it and everything. But then to get my insurance lowered an extra $100 or so a month, that was another something that was a big surprise. So anyway, I'm sure this story is probably maybe a little humorous to people. And but it's true, and it's funny now, but it wasn't funny then. But I do know who got me through it, because I can't drive that well. I don't have the skill to make it through something like that. So I'll try to have you another story another day.